Hey guys, this is Gene Jensen, and it is time for my March MTB Slam. And what I have here is I have the MTB Pro box. What I do with my slams is I open up the box on the boat, I tie a lure onto tie every lure onto a rod, and I go out and I go fishing, try to catch a fish on every box. Well, starting this month, I'm going to do something a little different that I hope you enjoy. So let's open it up, show you what's in it, and get things started. All right, first thing we have is a little card that tells us what everything is. I'm going to go through and show it to you and tell you about how much they cost and everything else. The very first thing is the Live Target Thread Fin Shad Bait Ball Crankbait Magnum. Whew. That was a mouthful. Anyway, ideal for clear water. It's an oversized lure and it dives to 12 feet. So it's a deep diver, probably not very good for this time of the year, but we'll talk about it. The bass are really, really shallow right now. They're spawning. And it is worth $16.99. The very next bait is the Sebile Pivot Frog. Hollow body frog. Got a little weight on the hook. Whoops, sorry. Try that again. It's got a little weight on the hook. Be interesting to see how that thing runs. And it's worth $6.99. The next one is the All-Terrain Tackle Football Jig, $4.29. Green pumpkin red football jig. Just your standard football jig, it looks like. Cool. Then a full pack of Bubble Shaker from Ryan's Baits. Looks like a drop shot worm, $5.99. Kind of a goofy little worm, never tried them before. That's what MTB is all about. The next soft plastic is a Savage Gear Armor Tube worm. I don't know why they call it armor tube. Nylon mesh core construction means it will not fly off your hook. You can wacky rig this all day long. Cool. I've seen these. Where did I see these? I think I saw them at iCast a couple years ago. So they got nylon down the middle of them to keep the hook in there. Pretty neat. Definitely be trying those. And then last but not least is the Enraged Shaky Head from Moner Hooks. You guys, I've been using Moner Hooks for years, and I'm an absolute firm believer in them. Anyway, it's $4.39. Pretty cool little stand-up jig. Haven't tried these yet. Then the other things in the box, you get the Dibble Digest, which is a slap full of good articles. Talk about the different types of lures they're using, kind of give you some good advice. It's got mostly articles, very, very little advertisement in it. The scratch off card, which I usually give to my kids. And that's it. All right, let's rig them up. All right, now the conditions we're faced with today, it is late March. And here in Georgia, especially on these lakes that I'm fishing today, the bass move up to spawn on the full moon in March. Usually April for the rest of Georgia, but these little lakes warm up a lot faster. So we're in the middle of the full moon. The bass moved up yesterday. So the conditions we're faced with is low 60s, sunny skies today. There's supposed to be some storms rolling in, so we should see a lot more clouds today. And they're spawning. So I'm limited to what I can use to throw in there. The reason I'm saying is the baits that they sent me in the mystery tackle box, the deep diving crankbait, the frog might work today. That's why I'm trying it really early this morning. But I'm not counting on it because they are thinking about spawning. So the baits that I'm pretty sure will work today are going to be the ones where I can pitch into a bed or pitch in next to a stump and catch a fish. And you know, I'm excited because there's tons of big fish in this lake. I just hope I can hook into one. All right, now when faced with the conditions I am, low light conditions or murky water, right now we have a bunch of pine pollen in the water that's been stirred up by the wind. yesterday, and it really makes visibility tough, but I know they're spawning. Another thing we have is this is a very silty lake. Yeah, there's hard spots on the lake where the bass will spawn, but for the most part it's a silty lake, and so bass are going to try to find something hard to spawn on. And this has got stumps in it, and it's got trees in it, and all kinds of stuff. So the bass will actually spawn at the base of those stumps, at the base of the trees, on logs. I've seen them spawning on top of the stumps. And so the object is to basically get something that you can pitch right into the base of the stumps, right into the base of these trees, and you just shake it. You're not sight fishing, you're not looking for them. You just got to picture in your mind that they are there. And you make multiple pitches to every side of the stump. Now, what I found in my experience is that they will be on the deep side of the stump. So it is going to be away from the bank. So that's exactly where I'm pitching and where I'm going to look. And I love a drop shot for it. The drop shot, the shaky head, the jig, anything, like I said, anything you can pitch into the base of those stumps and just sit there and shake it and keep it still or whatever, they're going to be there. There's one. Oh, lost him at worm. Not a big one, but it's a fish. Right up next to that stump. Just pitching to shallow cover, what I can see. All right, so what I'm doing with this worm is, first thing I do is I put it on the hook. Just Texas rig it. I'll get it out eventually. Little bitty hook, little 1/0. Little 1/0 hook. Then what I do is I take up, come on, stinking thing. Got my JJ's Magic. The first thing I do is I dip it in clear. And what I think the clear does is it masks the human scent. Garlic is a known fish attractant anyway. And then I just dip the tail in chartreuse. And what I think that does is it, you know, a bluegill has a lot of chartreuse in it. And so I think it mimics a bluegill, and that's what the bass hate around their bed. So if you throw it into the bed, they're going to bite it. And with that garlic scent, they seem to hold on a whole lot more. That's why I believe in JJ's. It has put a ton of fish in the boat. There's my shameless plug, but I've been with them for years and years and years. And I just want them to stay around. That's why I keep talking about them. There's one. Ooh, that's a good one. Yes, sir. Look at that fish. Ooh, she's beautiful. Oh my goodness gracious, that's a great fish. On the drop shot. Stud. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Man, I love this. She's about 4 pounds. I'm gonna put her back in so she can go back on that bed if she was on a bed. So I'm not sight fishing, but I'm bed fishing. Is basically what I'm doing. This is a, I breathe hard. I forget to breathe when I'm fighting fish. So I get out of breath. I actually hold my breath when I fight fish, and I don't know why. But it's just like a little bluegill. Drop it right on their head, and they don't like it. So it's just multiple casts. And if I really, felt like it, I would retie this onto a bait caster. You just can get twice as many casts with a bait caster as you can with a spinning reel. Now, the reason I'm not using the jig in this situation is because of the silty bottom. It might work if I throw it, make an exact cast and get it right on the hard spot on the bed, but if it gets off of that bed any, it just sinks down into the silt. And so a jig or anything that sits on the bottom that gets into that silt is really not a good choice any time of the year, really. If you don't have a hard bottom, a jig is just not going to work. All right, let's go with the Savage Gear stick bait. I mean, this thing really does look like it'll last all day. I mean, you start pulling on it, it doesn't go anywhere. Huh, it's pretty cool. Now, once again, the bass are shallow. They're around cover or next to stumps and things like that. So what I'm going to do with this is just the same thing I was doing with a drop shot. Is throw it up around cover, let it sink down, let it sink real slowly. It's got kind of a nice little shimmy to it. You just work it around shallow cover, let it sink, shake it back up. What I like to do is let it sink to the bottom, and I'll shake it. And as I shake it like that, as I'm pulling up, it swims like this. And I'll let it sink back down to the bottom. And I'll do that several times until I feel like I'm out of the strike zone. Then I'm going to reel it in and make another cast. Work it out of that tree. Just like that. I'm gonna make a little move real quick. All right, let's talk a little bit about the all-terrain tackle football jig. Now, what a football jig is designed for is basically a dragging jig. You get it out onto some hard bottom rock, things like that, throw it down and you just drag it along the bottom. This lake doesn't really have a lot of hard bottom. It has a lot of silt on the bottom. So throwing a jig or trying to fish a jig in a lake that is silted over is pretty much wasting your time. So there is a situation where a jig is wonderful, and that is when you're dragging hard bottom rock or anything like that, and then there's a situation where it just doesn't work, which is where I'm at right now. And I'm going to drag it a little bit, but what I'm going to do to try to catch a fish on it is I'm going to flip it into beds and basically just toss it around where I see somewhere where a fish might be and fish it just like I would just a regular brush jig. But I mean, seriously, there is nothing like a jig bite. You're dragging it along, drag it. And what I like to do is I like to fish it, kind of like I fish a Carolina rig, drag it until I bump into something and shake it. And then pop it over top of that, whatever that is I bumped into, and I drag it again until I hit something else and I shake it. For me, a football head jig has always worked better in scattered rocks than it has like in riprap. Riprap, it gets hung up too easy. But I love to fish it on hard clay bottoms and hard rock bottoms, and then rock that's scattered around on the bottom. It's typically my favorite place to do it. And that's a football jig in a nutshell. Nothing real special about it. The colors I like to choose all depend on the water clarity. You know, dark colors, I either go with black, green, pumpkin, and brown. or black and blue, you know, green pumpkin and brown, black and blue for muddy water, and then the more natural colors for the clearer water. So just not a very good jig for soft bottom. All right, now the Moner Enraged Shaky Head. That's what it is. It's actually a stand-up head, and the way I fish a stand-up head is I'll throw it out to I'll throw it out past the target that I'm going to. Right now I've got a rage craw on there, a rage craw. Right now I got a vile craw on there, and I'm hopping it because I want it to come up and I want it to land with that jig head flat on the bottom. Especially if I'm fishing a straight tail worm, I'm gonna hop it and shake it just a little bit and hop it. There's not much to fishing a shaky head. You just fish it at or close to the bottom, let it sink all the way down, shake it a little bit, and when you shake it on a semi-slack line. Bring it from a slack line and just kind of pop it. You don't want to lift it up off the bottom, you just want to shake it. You just want that bait to just barely move. And what's nice about this one is you can rig it weedless and get it right into the middle of the thick stuff. It's got a 60-degree hook eye, which is what I really like, and comes through cover really good when you're at that 60 degree. Those 90-degree jig heads are bad in two different ways. They get hung up real easy, and they also will blow the fish's mouth open more, and you won't be able to get a good hook set. So I tend to go for the 60-degree jig hook. Ooh, backlash. It's been over 2 years I've been doing this slam, and actually 2 years to the date. And I decided it was time to change it up a little bit, let it evolve. And you guys know me. I'm all about teaching how to fish, and I kind of got away with that, away from that with the slams, and I wanted to kind of bring some of that back. This won't be the final way I'll do a slam. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. But what I want to do is I want to be able to pull everything out of the box. I want to be able to teach everything I can about each item that's in the box. So basically you get 5 or 6 or 7 informative videos all packed into one. And I hope you learn something from it, especially this video. I hope you learn something about bed fishing, about what works and what doesn't work. The products in this box were amazing, really good product. The deep diving crankbait's going to be good in a few months. It's not good right now. The hollow body frog, weeks, couple of weeks maybe. I tried to catch something on it this morning and late last night, wasn't able to accomplish that. But they're just not hitting top water yet. It's not quite up to that temperature around here. I hope you learned a little bit about fishing silty water or silty lakes. There's good things and there's bad things. Jigs don't work on silty lakes because they get down into that silt and the bass can't get to them. The winner of this whole MTB Slam, this whole thing, was the Rains Bubbling Shaker. Put it on a drop shot, make sure that it got up out of that silt, and I caught a bunch of fish on it. Not a bunch, but I caught a few fish on it. It's been a little bit tougher than I thought it would be. Is what it is. That's fishing. The armor tube worm, I'm pretty sure just playing around with it and messing with it, trying to rip it apart and things like that, it is one tough worm. I wasn't able to catch anything on it, mainly because I didn't fish it that much. The Rains drop shot was really working good. And then the Enraged Shaky Head, really good shaky head, but once again, it gets down into that silt. Not really a good thing. Maybe if I would have pitched it into some bushes and brought it up and shaked it, I probably could have caught a fish on it. But that's the MTB Slam. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you go check it out. Mystery Tackle Box is they give away the first box for $4.99. I'll put the code right up here, and then after that you can upgrade it to the Pro Box and get some of these really good full bags of plastic and these high dollar baits, and pretty good. Oh, and on a side note, for those of you guys who insist that a spinning reel is just fine for bass fishing, you're probably right to a point, but I fished this thing for the last 2 days, and I fished it like I would a bait caster, pitching and flipping into cover. And I tell you, the advantage of a bait caster over a spinning reel when you're doing that sort of fishing is you get twice as many casts in with a bait caster. You become twice as accurate. So if you're putting off learning how to cast a bait caster, or you hate it and you don't ever want to try it, I think you're selling yourself short. So anyway, that's a good side note. That's what it drove me nuts the last 2 days trying to flip and pitch with this drop shot, this spinning rod. So anyway, well, like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the like button if you like this video. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish. Have a great day.